For nearly 60 years, Hollywood comedian Mel Brooks has been cracking up television and film audiences. It's no easy job, but Melvin Kaminsky, aka Mel Brooks, showed the world he's the king of oddball comedy. Despite spending years in the spotlight, there are still a lot of things people don't know about Mel Brooks. In this video, we're going to take a look at some of these interesting facts and secrets. Make sure you stick around until the end of the video to learn what the future of Mel Brooks' career might look like. Facts First presents Mel Brooks' 12 Facts About the Comedic Genius. Before we get started, show us you're a Mel Brooks fan by clicking the like button. And for more videos like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Mel knows how to diffuse a tense situation. Starting out in stand-up comedy can be a rough career to start. You never know what the audience is going to react to when delivering your punchlines. But did you know that Mel Brooks first used his skills in situations that were no joking matter? After graduating high school, Mel joined the U.S. Army in 1944 and was sent overseas to South Africa. Though he was trained for combat, this young corporal had the task of searching for and defusing landmines. Though he used the old Israelite joke of roaming the desert for 40 years in later films, this Battle of the Bulge veteran helped save countless lives that could have been lost otherwise. When not digging around in the sand and soil looking for buried bombs, he also practices comedy and jokes to entertain his fellow troops. This might explain his fascination with humoring the horrors of WW II in Nazi Germany, a theme that would later be repeated with great success for Brooks. The King of Parody. After his tour of duty finished in the Second World War, Brooks returned to New York and quickly found work as an entertainer in many popular Catskills resorts. It wasn't long that he developed his comedy skills even more and grew to be friends with Sid Caesar in 1949. The two were soon working on comedy routines and by 1950 were hired as comedy writers for Your Show of Shows. Brooks found that making comedy meant poking fun at the parody of everyday life. But for Mel, he knew that wasn't enough and took his brand of comedy right to the edge. Though risky as the idea sounds, he could take any character that people despised and make them funny. His film, The Producers, even turned Adolf Hitler into a springtime-loving party leader who just wanted everyone to join in. A comedy concept that almost ruined him, yet you'll find out why it works so well later in the video. Connecting with his audience. Directors are masters at connecting with their audience to tell a story. For Steven Spielberg, it's bringing childhood memories back with compassion. And for Alfred Hitchcock, it was building a phobia and suspense that the audience could share. But in a Mel Brooks film, you get the look instead. You see, it was uncommon for films to break what is called the fourth wall. The people on screen never realize they're being watched and stay in character the whole time. If you've seen a Brooks film, you know that look when a character stares right into the audience. The result was instant laughter and became a signature for any Mel Brooks film that's been copied endless times by other directors. However, there's one more trademark move that's always eye-catching, and it's usually the moment when a character is self-reflecting with a blank-faced stare. Often they're joined by another co-star who pats them on the back for consolation. Which one of Brooks' moments do you like more? The fourth wall stare or endless failure stare? Be sure to tell us in the comments section and press the like button. A musician who knows a good beat. Mel Brooks is also a talented musician. However, most people don't know he's a talented drummer too. While growing up in Brooklyn, he learned to play from the legendary Buddy Rich and got pretty good at beating skins. But perhaps Mel is best known for his satirical songwriting that goes with his films. In the early 80s, Mel directed his comedy classic History of the World Part 1, which included a catchy rap song called It's Good to Be the King. His rap rendition for playing King Louis XVI not only stole the show, it went on the Billboard chart too at number 67 for 4 weeks straight. Mel also did a lesser-known rap version with Adolf Hitler that didn't go over so well. It was actually for History of the World Part 2, which was produced but was only shown on HBO in the late 80s, and was only aired once. Yet, the Hitler rap video can still readily be seen on YouTube despite this film getting drummed out. The second time is always the charm. Winning awards in the field of entertainment and film are the highest honor you can achieve in the industry. But for Mel Brooks, it seems he's going to need some more shelf space. He's won all the awards across the board, including the Emmy, the Grammy, the Oscar, and the Tony Award, otherwise known to Hollywood insiders as the Grand Slam win called the EGOT. However, for Brooks, getting one EGOT in 2001 wasn't enough. And just like getting laughs, he might be ready for a second EGOT soon enough. Mel loves his monsters. Mel has indeed done his parody of Frankenstein and Dracula, and even a wacky version of the space villain Darth Vader. Yet there are some Hollywood monsters that most people would never have thought Mel Brooks would help create. Since Mel is also a film producer and created the production company Brooks Films in 1980, they've produced nearly 20 feature films since then. Some of them, incredibly enough, are horror films that were both shocking and horrific. He produced both The Fly 1 and 2, The Elephant Man with John Hurt, The Doctor and the Devils, and The Vagrant, a dark comedy horror film. Yet for those who saw the Fly films, it gave Brooks a chance to have his hand in the classic Universal Monsters universe. As you can see in the film, the Fly character Jeff Goldblum is shown for his compassion that he's becoming a monster. Often comedic at times for the amount of slime and oddly placed humor, it becomes very obvious Mel Brooks appreciates dark horror humor too. Mel's son wrote World War Z. What kids learn from their parents is often what parents don't want their kids to learn. But that wasn't the case for Mel's son Max. A talented book writer and voiceover actor, Max is every bit as comfortable jumping into the entertainment world as his father. But if you've been living on an island for the last 20 years, you probably won't know about the zombie apocalypse trend of zombie-themed movies and books. Max started the whole ball rolling with his World War Z series in 2002 and has seen a motion picture produced and a video game. There are still talks and rumors about a sequel to the motion picture that could be directed by David Fincher. Sadly, though, the latest producers of the sequel lost funding when Chinese lawmakers made it illegal to show ghost stories in their country. But that doesn't mean that it may be produced by Netflix or HBO, since online support to see this project has been so strong, turning a near-failed film into a Broadway hit. Remember how earlier we mentioned Mel Brooks could turn any despised person into a comedy figure? Well, he did that with his 1968 film, The Producers. But the film did very poorly at the box office and nearly ended his career, not to mention all the hate mail from an angry Jewish-American community. But Brooks' wife, Anne Bancroft, thought it would make a great Broadway musical instead. Reportedly, it took $40 million to produce and somewhat mirrors the film plot to make a stage show that robs their investors. But surprisingly enough, The Producers' Broadway version turned out to be a huge hit. It won 12 Tony Awards in a single night, and in 2005, it was remade into a new motion picture starring Nathan Lane and Matthew Broderick. Cameos that Mel never played. If you're an influential director, chances are you play a small part in your own film. Quentin Tarantino has done it several times, and even Alfred Hitchcock liked an occasional stroll in the background. But when Mel Brooks does a cameo appearance, he steals the show every time. Yet over the years, he's had cameos that went unseen for very odd reasons. For the Dick Van Dyke television show, a character Buddy Sorrell, played by Maury Amsterdam, was a character that was based on Mel Brooks. In another unseen role, he supplied the voice of a cat in the horror comedy Young Frankenstein. More recently, he supplied the voice of Dracula's father in Hotel Transylvania 2 and 3 and Toy Story 4 as Melephant Brooks. If you like cartoons, you might be surprised at the long list of characters that Mel Brooks has lent his voice to over the years. The Mel Brooks film you never knew existed. Every director has at least one film they're not so proud of. Who could forget Ishtar or Heaven's Gate, that were both huge box office flops? In 1970, Brooks directed his second film called The 12 Chairs. The film had such a poor audience reaction it failed to last much time in the movie theaters, and it would take him another 3 years until he bounced back with his breakthrough hit Blazing Saddles. Sadly for The 12 Chairs, it was quietly tucked into the corner of films that most people have never bothered to watch. Even though the color photography and set dressings were very rich, and it was shot in the Czech Republic long before it became the Eastern European Hollywood, it failed to attract an interested U.S. audience. Even in the early video cassette days, Brooks released his film library for the first time. However, this ill-fated film failed to be very popular to watch at all. Turning the laughs up to 11. If you're going to be a big Hollywood star, you have to have a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And Brooks finally did achieve this on September 8, 2014, in front of the Chinese Theater in downtown Hollywood. Little did anyone know Brooks was up to any funny stuff, but it wasn't until the official photos were printed another funny thing was about to happen. And for all those who want to check their shoe size and handprints, they'll notice something is a little bit off about the impression his left hand made. It wouldn't be a Mel Brooks moment without giving back to his favorite fans something extra. The in-joke turned out to be a whole finger extra. It seems Mel went into the ceremony wearing a prosthetic pinky finger that let everyone know he's still in the business of making people laugh. And for all those who make the pilgrimage to the Walk of Fame, you'll see how he can still have you turn a smile while looking down. Still willing to make hit movies. Most of us might start to think Mel Brooks retired or even perhaps passed away years ago, but the truth is, he's still around and very active despite being 94 years old. He's often hinting at jumping back into the director's chair and has made lots of fans excited with the prospect of bringing Spaceballs 2 back to the big screen. With all the recent Star Wars films being produced recently, Brooks thinks it's time to make some more fun of the Star Wars universe once again. And with the technology to bring famous actors like John Candy back for an honorable CGI recreation, it might be worth a few more laughs. Mel might be able to convince Rick Moranis to come and join the sequel, since Dark Helmet wouldn't be the same without his evil bickering. But until then, we'll just have to wait some more for Mel's next big blockbuster surprise. Mel Brooks has always been a master at making us laugh, and he's still not done yet. And for a war veteran who helped save lives, his lifetime of work is still entertaining us today. We hope you learned a little bit more about this comedy icon. Now we'd like to hear from you. Do you want to see Mel Brooks make a return to the screen, or are you satisfied with his library of work? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to Factsverse for more like this.